Welcome to Life
On
Life's
Terms,
episode 72 with your host Justin, and
it's Kenny.
we're gonna. The topics today is what are the three major takeaways from the startup topic of this month or last month, however you want to look at it, and how are we going to implement these skills in our next startup, and then we're going to get into what is it that you want to learn for the next topic, which is relationships over the month of February 2019. But before we get into those, we need to do our shout outs. So, Kenny, you want to do Ono?
I'll do Ono just like Bob Barker.
Do it.
Ono Poke is a chef-driven fast casual restaurant serving Hawaii's signature dish. The menu features chef-curated poke bowls. Customers can select a various bases for the bowls, including fur cake rice, quinoa, and poke and spring salad mix, along with vegetable seasoning and protein options such as the torched miso salmon poke, the albacore tuna, and the spicy Thai salmon poke. Or you can build your own bowl. Ono in Hawaiian means delicious, and that's absolutely fitting for them. You can find Ono Poke at 10142 104 Street in Edmonton.
Modern Gravity is the best place to relax with their spacious float tanks. If you have not floated, you have to try this. You really have to try this. February is always a stressful month. For only $39.99, you can enjoy a float a month and let it all go. Please go to Modern Gravity's website at www.moderngravity.ca and talk to those fine folks over there.
They're the best.
They're fucking amazing.
I love floating.
Yeah,
I'm addicted to it.
Yeah.
I am.
It releases DMT. Did you know that?
Well, I'm hooked. I'm easily addicted to
I remember the first time I floated, which wasn't at Modern Gravity, unfortunately. First thing I thought about when I was done is, when am I coming back? First thought. Yours was the same thing.
Yeah.
When we were done, your first thought is like, shit, when can I do this again?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. There are some people who don't enjoy it. And that's unfortunate for them.
AKA my girlfriend.
That's really unfortunate.
Well, if you suffer from severe anxiety, I guess maybe that's not the best spot for you. It could be. It could be perfect.
Yeah.
But if you let your anxiety get the best of you while you're there, then it could be a little traumatic.
I mean, I think, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where I think you just have to try it, and if you like it, you like it. You don't, you don't.
Yeah, you got to learn to just turn it off.
Yeah.
Just turn that inner shit talker off.
I think there's also a point when you're in there and you get to a place where you're like, fuck it, there's no point in thinking about any of that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, you're here for an hour, fuck it. I
just want to float.
Yeah, let's just hang out for an hour. There's no point to thinking about any of those stressors.
There's no worries in the womb.
Yeah, and I am weightless right now. I don't know where I am in this little
I'm in
tub.
outer space.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It's pretty cool. So, three major takeaways from the startup topic. Let's talk about this. I know in the last episode was called what we had learned from startups. And I guess we're kind of touching on that again. But what I'd like to say is the topic was pretty good.
It was really good.
I mean,
I loved the show with Liam.
Yeah. Liam was I also liked the show with Mr. Cardinal coming in. I think that was a really good show. Lewis definitely has a pretty amazing story coming from where he came from, and then gaining the stature that he has in the community today. That just shows what hard work can do.
Yeah, and a little insight here and there.
Yeah, I think that's it was pretty terrific to hear where he came from, what he was doing, and I think even to have your hands tied. Like when you were going along the line of well, where do we get this money? And Lewis was just basically saying, well, where is the money? You know what I mean? There are many needs out there, and everybody's kind of scratching their head as to where and how can we help, and what's going to be the most effective thing. And I liked his philosophy that there needs to be a lot more micro than major.
Yeah.
You know, there
It
needs
doesn't
to,
need to be an all-encompassing thing.
that's right. There needs to be a lot more smaller things that can provide more one-on-one. Is what I took away from that.
Yeah, like targeted
Yeah.
services.
As opposed to having some sort of conglomerate where you're basically saying you need to fit this program or you need to fit this entity. You know, I think it's difficult.
Yeah.
You know-
well, when you're rating grants or something like that for a nonprofit, you got to fish through all of the application guidelines, and in those guidelines, they cut a lot of people off, and they specifically narrow it down for certain things, and you basically have to adjust your already pre-existing program
That's right.
to meet their application guidelines.
Yeah. So some of us, let's just go off on a little bit of a tangent here. Some of us, I'm not going to include myself in this. Well, maybe, yeah, fuck it, I will, I guess. Some of us believe that is what's called social engineering. Because when you look at some of the prerequisites of those grants, what they're essentially doing is they're saying you have to have this philosophy. And when they're saying that you have to have that philosophy, what is that organization ultimately doing? They're disseminating that philosophy onto their clients. Right? So in order for your clients to participate, it almost becomes, like you said, a prerequisite that they're going to adhere to the philosophy that the grant is making you adapt into your potentially everyday rigmarole of how you're disseminating your services to these clients. Right? And this then allows, so there's always been a rift, I think, in social, how would you put, like social programs between psychologists, psychiatrists, and sociologists. That's not so much in line with people like you and I who have come through the system and saying these are the faults and the flaws of the system. And the problem that I've always found is that these people who are in charge, what ends up becoming innately obvious is they have a feeling about how their philosophy is supposed to be disseminated because their thesis at some times that they wrote in university depends upon it. And they almost want their thought or their ideology
To become law.
or to become something that's the golden standard. Right? And a lot of people
I changed the system. Me.
Exactly. And or what you also get is you get people who feel that they're owed. They've been in the not-for-profit sector for a long time, and now they're in some consulting place within the government. I'm not saying every consultant is like this, but there are some where they're asked to help with policy procedure, and then they implement these things only because it's going to pacify other people or their cohorts that they had come up with from university. And we also see this. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say that Edmonton doesn't have a good old boy circle in the not-for-profit sector here in this general area. They do. I mean, you'd be kidding yourself if you believed that certain entities in this city or certain entities in your own city don't sit down at the table once a year and decide how they're going to divvy up the donations, the donation cycle of what organization gets these months and what organization gets those months. And then they divvy it up so that nobody's really crossing each other. And then they talk about how they're going to divvy up the government's contribution as well. And then where does that allow for any, that doesn't allow fair, free game. It actually becomes a monopoly.
Monopoly of non-for-profit, not profit.
So that's some of the issues that I've always seen with the not-for-profit sector, not just in Edmonton, but almost in every place.
Don't forget to make your policy and procedure manuals.
Yeah, that's a big deal. So, I mean, I think that's one of the things that I've, and that's kind of like what I think, that's what I took away from that Lewis Cardinal episode.
Yeah.
Obviously, Lewis didn't go out on a limb and say that. I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, but that's the feeling I got. That was my interpretation of the words that he was saying. And that interpretation is also based on my experience in being in the not-for-profit sector.
Yeah. I'm just grateful I have you and like guys like him that I can call when I have questions.
Yeah.
And get some info, because like running in this nonprofit sector blind is just a liability waiting to happen.
Well,
so having good counsel and good friends to instruct you on what's the right way and the wrong way of doing things is that is the golden egg to me.
There's a good friend of mine who told me that the not-for-profit sector is like ferrets. They eat their young. And it's so true. It's so true. These big not-for-profit charitable organizations don't like smaller organizations starting. They would rather be all-encompassing because, as I said before, they grow into a corporate structure.
Yeah, they're into perpetuating.
Yeah, and they want their business. They want their business to perpetuate as well.
Pure homelessness? Hell no.
Well, and you and I had also talked to, like, if you're going to be in the not-for-profit sector, you need to find something that makes you money prior to going and standing out on the street corner with your not-for-profit. You need to have something that's going to allow you. It's just like, so I heard this a little while ago, even about the podcasting business, and I agree with it now. It's a long-term goal. The podcasting industry, as well as the not-for-profit sector, it's a long-term goal. You're not going to get rich in either. For sure, you're not going to get rich in not-for-profit. And the thing with podcasting is it takes a while to find your dividends to come back to you. And I mean, first and foremost, you need to ask yourself, why are you doing it? If you're doing it to take something out of it, well, you shouldn't be in the business world. You should be in the world of working a job and taking your paycheck. Because when you are operating a business, it's not about what you can take out of that business. It's how you can serve that business. That's the biggest philosophy you always have to remember. And when you serve your business, then you get your first employee, and then you have to think about how are you going to serve that employee, and then you get your customers, and then you think, how am I going to serve all of these customers? And you get your next employee, and then how do I serve this employee? Because as much as you're maybe the business owner, you're not taking anything out of that business. You're serving that business, right? That's the real way to look at a successful business. And really, the only time that you get anything out of it is if you decide to sell your business to somebody else. Then you're going to be paid for all the service work that you have done over the amount of time in starting that business. And that's basically, I got that out of the Amos episode. You know, when he was talking about servicing a business and not looking at it as how do you squeeze everything out of it? Because that's not what it's about. It's about making it robust and fat and making it big and making it juicy.
Yeah, so it just squirts all over you with money.
Like that's the way to look at it. You know what I mean? And the other thing is too, like, why is it that I like podcasting? Well, there's an influence behind it. You know, and you need to respect that as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's weighty. You know, our words are online forever. So the more valuable topics that we can have that affect people or can produce a hope for somebody, that's weighty.
Yeah. And
it's valuable and it's powerful.
Yeah. And I also, we've had other conversations too where I've heard other shows where they actually weaponize their audience. You know, like I've heard that from other shows. I'm not saying that we've really gone to that place, but I've seen other shows where they'll actually like dock somebody right on their podcast, and they'll just like say this person lives here and this person goes here and this person works here and this person da 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 da. You can't do that stuff, man. Like that's just not cool to do. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what they've done to you. That's how powerful a microphone is. It doesn't matter if you have 7 downloads a day or if you have 8,000 downloads or 1 million downloads a day. Your mic is just as powerful regardless, you know. And there's the respect to your customers or to your listeners or to your readers. You know, you don't want to put them in that place, right? So we've always tried to really maintain that here on Life on Life's Terms. But
what's that called? Amicability?
Being amicable, which just means to be friendly, right? That's just a Latin way. So the word actually amiable is Latin for being friendly, like friendlyable, really. You know, like that's what it is. Your 3 major takeaways, though.
Incorporate right away.
So why right away?
to avoid losing your shirt. If you put all this time into something and you don't have your insurance and policy, which is your incorporated title,
Sure.
then you are liable. And
so I'm just going to be a semantical asshole on you here for just one moment.
Okay.
Incorporation means to incorporate as a third party. Maybe the correct vernacular is to register your company, because you could register your company as a limited incorporation, a limited company, a full incorporated company, a Part 9, or a not-for-profit through the Societies Act.
So a limited incorporation.
Yeah, so limited means you have limited liability, but like you and I own it.
Okay.
And so we have limited liability. But incorporation means the corporation is liable. You and I are personally not liable for it. See what I'm saying? There's buffers. Remember Liam was talking about all these buffers in incorporation.
Yeah.
Right? So to be a corporate structure, that's basically what, if you're a media company out there, that's how you want to incorporate, because an incorporation in Canada for the best part is not liable for defamation or opinion. A corporation cannot have an opinion. So you can't sue over defamation or an opinion.
But you still can if it's like limited liability.
No, 100%, yeah. Yeah.
The second thing is no agreement or no contract means no work.
Okay.
Right? So get that shit in writing.
So why is that so important to you now?
Well, I've recently had a struggle with a type of employer who somewhat contracted me out, getting what was the original agreement, and I got nickel and dimed every paycheck, and
so be careful.
I had to fight for it.
Yeah.
And it caused
So in your opinion, you had to fight for it.
I had to fight for what was said to me originally. I had to fight for it, and then it turned out
it is what it is.
A learning experience.
Yeah. So where I got burned a couple times was I provided work that was outside of the scope of what my agreement was.
Oh yeah.
And never got paid for that.
Yeah.
So
be specific in the contract or agreement.
To a degree. I mean, it depends on who you're working with, right? Sometimes you go out on a ledge because it depends. You really have to discern that, how far you're going to go, you know? I learned that through life, that, like I said, as soon as you sat down and we decided, you and I had our discussion about you becoming a content creator on Life's Terms and becoming a co-host, we sat down with agreement right away. This way there was no bones about what our responsibilities are, what it is that we have to do. And that has worked out really well for our relationship, our working relationship. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's no... And
it's only getting better too.
Yeah.
Because as we start working better together and we become more knowledgeable in this industry, because we both dived in pretty ignorant.
Yeah. Well, I came in with a fair amount of research of what I was wanting and where I wanted to go, but I didn't really know what niche we would fit in.
Yeah, or how.
Yeah. I just kind of, like I said, I just wanted that to work out organically.
And it did.
Yeah, because I've said this before, every time I put my fucking hands around something, I usually just strangle the shit out of it, and then there's no life in it. You know, like that's...
We're not talking about your sessions in the bathroom, buddy.
Yeah, so that's kind of where... Yeah, I just didn't want to do that with this podcast. You know, I just wanted it to do what it was going to do, and I was in for the long haul. You know, I basically gave myself 5 years. I want to see what this will do in 5 years. Looking at other podcasts, you know, in 3 years, I think there'll be a real turn. And then I think like potentially there'll be a real turn, but already it's growing. I mean, like I said, we talked about this in the last show. Look at our Facebook. Like that Facebook is starting to really go. The Instagram page, you can check it out at Life on Life's Terms podcast on Instagram. It's starting to go pretty good. Yeah. You know, like we're gaining interest. I think the next thing I
got a couple pics for you to throw up on there too that I fucking haven't been posting.
Okay. And I think the next thing too is we should maybe get on Snapchat with Life on Life's Terms. I think is probably the next
quick blurbs.
next thing that we're going to go to. And we're on Twitter too.
Yeah.
You know, both you and I are on Twitter. So there's all that stuff. And I just didn't expect that Life on Life's Terms would be this accepted, you know, by all those people out there. So it was kind of really cool to see that. Your third one?
My third one is I was really interested in the Part 9 company.
Oh, yeah.
How it, like, if your end goal is to generate enough money where you'll be giving it away as a foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, that's the ultimate end goal for me, wanting to be a philanthropist.
Yeah. And it's like, what did Jay-Z say? How I got rich to give me, that was the win-win, or some shit like that. Don't quote me on that.
I don't know. The only thing I know that guy said is 99 problems, what a bitch ain't one.
Yeah. But he said
Relationships month is coming. It's here. Relationship month.
He had said something like, "How could I give to the poor when I wasn't rich?" So then I went and made my money, and then giving back to me was the fucking win-win. That's kind of the mentality that you don't want to fall into. You want to be more in the mentality of when you get rich, you have to give it. And for the most part, you know what Jay-Z does?
Yeah.
He does do wonderful things from the neighborhood that he was from.
Yeah.
You know, today. Look at Pablo Escobar. That motherfucker, he totally reshaped Medellin and Colombia. You know what I mean? Like people were living in his apartments long after he was dead in free rent.
Yeah.
Long after, you know? Even look at here in Canada, we were just talking about Vito Rizzuto in Montreal. People loved that man because he had given so much back into Park X in Little Italy. Like they loved him because he did wonderful things in his neighborhood, as rich as he was, you know. So I mean, sure, those guys are gangsters, but you also look at like Bill Gates, and Bill Gates,
he's just a legitimate gangster.
Yeah. Did you hear? I saw this thing a little while ago where he sat down with somebody and they were like, they asked him why he didn't voluntarily pay more taxes. And so Bill Gates looks at me like, why Microsoft didn't pay voluntarily more taxes in America. And he's like, would you pay more taxes if you had to? He's like, well, I would, but I just don't have the money. He's like, neither does Microsoft. We don't have the money either. Yeah, sure, we could have paid $500 million in taxes, but instead my accountants told me I only had to pay 85. You know what I did with the extra money? I helped my employees. Like, what are you, stupid? You know what I mean? Like so anyways, I think people too, when you kind of start making that exorbitant amount of money, they look at you like, well, now they're rich, they should really give back. And I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but I am saying too, you have to accept that they've done what they've done in order to get to where they get. Like, I mean, I work fucking 18, 19 hours a day easily. You know what I mean? Like it's an easy day. So yeah, I don't know. I probably wouldn't volunteer to pay more taxes.
No.
Like not my thing. So yeah, like I said, those couple things that my takeaways were with that Amos thing. The other thing too that Amos really said that kind of blew me away, because he is older than me, and I would consider him more of a mentor for me than a colleague, I would suggest at this point. And he was like, you have to make sure that you run your life like a business. And the only other place I had ever heard that besides Amos was the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. They essentially, if you look at that program, they teach you how to utilize the principles of economics and business in taking inventory and stock of your own emotional stability and feelings. And they allow you to almost part and parcel away from such a personal connection to those things, and then ask yourself, is it serving you well or is it not serving you well? And if it's not serving you well, they help you with the ability to get rid of those things. And so the other thing that I was kind of blown away too, that Amos had said, was he's got a morning ritual. You know, and
what
it's
is
like,
his morning ritual?
It's basically make his bed.
Fuck yeah!
You know what I mean? Like it was basically like make his bed, and he had a couple of other things that he did. But the point is that he had a morning ritual to be to do. You know what I mean? Which is, it's a fundamental thing for you and I, not just for our recovery or to be recovered
You know what
daily.
I did the other day that was pretty funny?
What's that?
I didn't make the bed.
Just to see what it would do?
No, because everything already went to shit. So I said, fuck it. I said the day I wasn't going to make my bed, everything's going to go to fucking shit. And I woke up in the morning and everything went to shit. So I was like, fuck, I'm not making my bed today. And I didn't. And like, even though they didn't go to shit.
Yeah.
I'm just going through transition. Change,
yeah.
right? But it happened. And then, I had that 24 hours of like, fuck, what am I going to do? But then I didn't make my bed and I went for a walk and I came up with a couple of good ideas and talked to you. And then I was like, bam, I'm back. I made my bed the next day.
Yeah.
One day in the last year and a half.
I like, maybe when I'm hiking, I don't really make my bed.
Well, because you pack it on your back.
Pretty much. You just roll it up. And off you go.
What about, so next month is relationships?
Well, hold on here. We have one more piece. How are you going to implement your three major takeaways in your next business?
Ooh. I'm going to go to the registries and I'm going to fucking incorporate a business.
But how are you going to go through the process of how to, like, what registration or what incorporation act do you want to use? Like, how are you going to go through that?
Well,
because remember Liam's big thing was this. He basically said, look, you have to figure out where you're going. So where are you going with your business?
Yeah.
Because that is what's going to give you the vehicle of which vehicle to use in order to get to where you're going. So
I think the first one that I'm going to be starting up is going to be a limited liability.
Okay.
Incorporation.
Okay.
Right? So it's going to be like me and 3 or 4 different people.
Yeah.
Starting it.
Okay.
And with a certain business plan that worked here and will work where they are, and they are different areas in Alberta.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds, I mean, that's kind of the thing about incorporating or registering, right? That's really what Liam was trying to hammer home.
Yeah.
Where are you going? And that's why we use the podcast and not-for-profits for examples of why are they different in the way that they work about things, right? What was your second one again?
No contract, no agreement, no work.
So I've got a good question for you about implementing this thing. How are you going to learn how to read a contract? And how are you going to learn how to draft a contract?
That's why I'm friends with you.
Fair enough. But how are you going to do it? If you didn't have me, how would you do it?
Call Liam.
If you didn't have Liam, how would you do it? Because I didn't have Liam when I started, and I was not me when I started. So how would you go about it?
I would write down 2 lists. A list of things that I want from the agreement and a list of things that I don't want from the agreement. And then I would take that to a lawyer and find out some legalities on it.
Okay.
And have them coach me how to write a contract.
So one thing that I'm hearing is that you now see how important it is to pay that $500 to the lawyer.
Yeah.
Right? Like before it was
retain
like...
him.
Yeah. Before it was like, we'll just write this shit out, blah, 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 whatever, right? So the other thing that you can do is Google is a wonderful, wonderful tool. And it'll give you drafts. And it'll tell you this is exactly how you format it. This is like, remember Liam and I were talking about the paragraphs thing, right?
Yeah.
So how do you make your lawyer bill cheaper? Well, give it a shot. Go write your own agreement and then put it in front of the lawyer. And if the lawyer says, this is pretty close, well, good for you. If the lawyer says this is good for shit, well, then you're going to pay a little bit more money, but at least you tried.
And you know for next time.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's one of the things that that's how I started out. That's how I started writing out contracts. That's how I started figuring out what's legal, what's not legal. And then also you have to be very careful and cautious about the vernacular and terminology that you use when you write those agreements out. And then the other thing is, so remember how you were saying the things that you want and things that you don't want? Mm-hmm. I would suggest this to you. Write out what your expectations are of you and what your expectations are of the other person. Do it that way, because then you can add. And that is clearly without interpretation of what you're willing to do and what you're expecting them to do. And then they can also add to those things. And then you actually have an amicable agreement, because then you know where you stand within your relationship.
Yeah.
Right? You know what you're both bringing to the table, so to say. And then what was your third one?
Part 9.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I really liked learning about this Part 9 thing because, I want to be a philanthropist. I want to make sure that financially I am in the spot to give away a whole bunch of money before I die, and that's what I want to do. We live in a capitalistic world. We can't change that right now. Not one person by themselves, that's for fuck sure. And so if you can't beat them, join them. So I'm in my capitalistic mentality for the future now. I want to create capital so I have some weight when I want to make a decision, and I want to be able to give that money where I deem fit in the world for the greater good of all.
See, I actually think capitalism is probably the freest system that we have. When it's ran,
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Mm-hmm. Like there's going to be good and bad in any system that's 100%. Set up, but I ain't going to be able to change it on my own. So I'm just going to work on making capital.
Well, and I think it's one of these. I think also the filter of a Canadian or Canadians, our industry is so socialistic in every aspect in Canada. Every industry in Canada is socialistic. The government is involved in some sort of capacity. They're always a regulating body in almost I would suggest about 96% of industry in Canada.
Isn't that like communism?
It's definitely a form of it. We are very socialistic, right? So like everything in Canada is socialistic. And they're always talking about economic slants and like people being fair and all this stuff. But I mean, how is the government really fair when there may be some of the people who are taking the kickbacks? It doesn't allow for the small guy to get in there. In America, not saying that their system is that perfect either, but they truly believe in a form of capitalism where it doesn't take a house to get a loan. You can get a loan in America on your name. And so this allows everybody to be able to compete, and may the best man win. That's what they have in America. We don't have it in Canada. We have who has the most access to capital in order to borrow to beat everybody else. So how much is your house worth? And we will give you a loan 50% of what your house is worth. And then you can go and use those dollars as your army. But those dollars are backed by your house. So if that business goes tits up, you're homeless.
Mm-hmm.
That's in America. That shit doesn't happen, right? Either you have it, you get the money, and if you fuck it up, you just lose. And you're gonna pay those bastards, while you're scrubbing toilets in Tijuana. You're still gonna pay them. That's the way how America looks at it. Here in Canada, we don't do that. We'll take your fucking house. That's the way how the bank works here, in a nutshell. So this makes the competition a very small pool of people who can actually find or access capital that is not incumbent upon their living.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very small portion of people in Canada can actually do that. They're usually already people who come from some sort of wealth already. So it's very, very difficult for people in Canada coming from the bottom to the top. There's a couple, like if you look at Kevin O'Leary, he's that guy. Who came up from the bottom and got to the top. And there's another one, too, that was on Shark's Tank or Dragon's Den, who came from the bottom and got to the top. He comes from an immigrant family and the whole nine. I think his name's Kevin something or another.
Can't remember.
But he is also in that place. So
there's Arlene Dickerson.
Yeah, I think
she wasn't rich, was she?
No, she wasn't.
She started poor, too.
But this is why entrepreneurship, I think, is so attractable to people who are coming from the ghetto. So
it's been romanticized.
To a degree.
They make, what do you... And it is, though, in a sense, like, looking at a startup of a business actually makes me horny.
Well, and then there's...
Looking at working a job makes me suicidal.
I mean, it's also one of these things too where I think, when you're looking at starting up a business, you got to be fucking crazy. Kevin O'Leary put it best. I just heard him talk a little while ago, and he said this. He goes, "If you think that there's balance in being an entrepreneur, you're fucking crazy, because there isn't.
No.
If you want balance, go work a fucking job, because you're going to go work for 8 hours. You're going to come home, be able to see the wife and all that stuff. But the reality is when you're an entrepreneur, you're balls to the wall for like fucking 10 years, and then you get an early retirement, and then you get to enjoy your time. But what the hell are you going to do at that time? You like starting businesses. You like what that is. You like your back against the wall. You like that. So there is, and this is why I think addicts are so attracted to the entrepreneurial world, because we're not middle of the road people. We like risk, and we're people who go from the ditch to the ditch. We essentially don't like going down the middle of the fucking road. We like to do it our own way. And this is why entrepreneurship is, I think, something that every addict would love to do, or any addict who's in recovery would love to do. They just go about it in a half-cocked way because they've done that for so long. So it's difficult for them to get to that place. So yeah, I think that's one of the advantages to being an entrepreneur. But the illusion is that there's balance, and there isn't in the beginning. Like I said, how do you serve your business? Because I assure you, there's some cocksucker out there who's fucking working 26 hours a day, and that's your competitor. And you got to be aware of that. The next topic. So, what is it that you want to learn over the next topic of relationships? What is it that you want out of that?
I want to learn how to become and stay in like the state of power, in the status of power couple with my girlfriend.
You need to break down power couple.
So I want us to be like both like self-made, self-starting, entrepreneur mentality, bringing in money, helping each other with our businesses. I want to go on 6 trips a year with her. Like, those are certain things that I'm after, and like they're in my ideal scene. But to get to my ideal scene as fast as possible, her and I both need to be running on the same synthetic oil and premium gas.
So are you looking at how to tighten up the team?
Part of it, yeah. Tighten up the team, but I also want us to be able to live amicably without any like of the drama that comes from like codependency or insecurities.
Okay.
Right? I want to be free from that. The second part is knowing how to define the difference between different types of relationships. So, like, there's friends that are friends. There's friends that I talk to all the time. There's friends that I'm really close with. I have friends that are females. I have my girlfriend, which is, like, my best friend right now. And it's like, how do I tell the difference between them and delegate time to them and set up healthy barriers for them, so I don't get a text from a friend who's female in the middle of the night and then wake up to my old lady choking me because she's seen this message from this girl at 3 a.m. I'm not saying that's happened, but it's probably come close in her eyes. So I'd like to be able to set up healthy boundaries for myself with different relationships. And then the third thing is
there's 4 things I have.
You have 4? Okay, well, I have 3. I want to keep
4 things that you've said.
No, well, okay. I've split one into 2, I guess. And then the last thing that I have is I want to keep the fire alive. Like I've heard hearsay that after about 10 years of a relationship, the fire goes out and the sexual attraction is harder to find. And I want to keep that fire alive. Okay. Divorces are expensive.
They are. So one of the things that I would bring to the table for you is in the last episode we talked about how sometimes, and I'm at fault for this too, where I will take the show. So I become so passionate about what it is that I'm going after that I don't let anybody else talk, and then I hostage take them, and they're fucking going with me now on a bank robbery.
Yeah,
right?
that's what happened on the podcast.
Yeah. So it's one of those things, right? Where that's what I'll do. So my question is, are you allowing your partner to be honest about, like, do they want to be a part of that? And are they being honest when they say that? Or are they just do they feel that they may be just being boxed into that? Now, I'm also going to be controversial when I say that. You know why I'm going to be controversial? Is watch this. I don't believe that you can make somebody feel anything. Instead, what I believe is if they don't have enough balls to tell you that they don't want to be a part of something, well, then they shouldn't be in your pride. They shouldn't be in your group, so to say. If they're a spineless person and they can't articulate what they want to say, well, that's unfortunate. And I mean, it could end badly, or defining what honesty is sometimes is difficult, because as you and I both know, honesty is a hard quality to find in people. Most people aren't honest with themselves. So to expect them to be honest in the context of a relationship, you're almost asking them too much, you know? So, I mean, it's one of these things where your check to yourself is, well, how honest are you with yourself?
Yeah.
And if you're really honest with yourself, that's cool. But now you got to ask yourself, when you're looking at your partner, whether it be business partner or your relationship partner, are they honest with themselves? Because if they're not being honest with themselves, then the next question is, well, are they being honest about where the goal is orientated? And then the other thing is, this is what I've learned, when my goals are supposed to be aligned with my partner, sometimes people change very, very quickly, and then those goals change quickly. So their personality changes in the next 2 to 3 years. And when their personality changes, it's like, well, I don't really want that goal anymore. And that's fine. So what I learned, you and I, prior to this podcast, I had talked about 2 years being alone without a partner.
Yeah.
And one of those things that I had learned in that time was it was better for me to be independent of my goals than to allow somebody else to be a part of my goals. And the reason why that is because I can expect myself to succeed in those goals, but for me to expect somebody else to succeed with me in those goals, especially in a relationship partnership, it's almost an copious amount of pressure onto the relationship, because it's hard enough just getting along.
That's why my last relationship ended.
Yeah.
100% it is. Like, it was first relationship I had out of jail, and I had high expectations.
Yeah.
Then I turned into an asshole because my high expectations, I was always like, yo, pull up your socks. Yo, pull up your socks. And then she was like, yo, fuck you.
Yeah.
And that was about the sum of it.
And that's the issue, right? Like, well, I don't know if it's an issue. I think it's taking responsibility of looking at your moral mirror. What are you doing? What are your actions dictating, right? Because, well, you and I'll put it to you this way, and even in our relationship, I don't have to say much. My example is enough to show you that I am what I am. You know what I mean? I don't have to say, well, Kenny, you should do this and you should do that, because I'm not shoulding. As a matter of fact, what I'm saying is, Kenny, this is what I've done, and you can take it, you can do it the same way. I know it works because I've done it. You see what I'm saying? So in that regard, living by that example is almost harder than saying, pull up your socks. You know what I mean? Let's rock it out. No, it's you got to live by that example and say, okay, well, let's pull up our socks together. Let's do it together, and we'll burden the hard road together. You know, and you know, like we'll go over these things again. I think that some of the things that I want to get out of this is my relationship with myself, and how to continuously surrender my serenity in order to be calm all of the time, or as much as I possibly can be. Because sometimes I can get pretty high strung. And I honestly believe that if I'm not doing self-care, my relationships with everybody else is fucked.
Well, true story.
Like that's just what it is. And so continuously doing this and learning the patience that it takes in order to allow myself just to be me is sometimes difficult.
Well, I respect your work because the patience it takes to work with me getting fucking blogs in at 6:30 in the morning, I can only imagine.
I mean, I think, yeah, I'm not saying that it is what it is, but I've even before that, I just let expectations go. Like the only expectations I have is the expectations that we have in our agreement, and that's it. You know what I mean? We both signed them, and that's it. Outside of that, I mean, I really have no expectations. Yeah. And a lot of that is because I don't have expectations of myself. What I do have for myself are goals. And what I don't allow is I don't allow my goals to be placed upon the goals of my partner. So if my goal is to drop 130 pounds, that goal, I'm not going to put that on my partner. The fact that we go to the gym every day, which we do, we go to the gym every day, is
huge.
Pretty amazing, but I don't put those, like, I suggest goals to her. Maybe I should probably walk that back a little bit. But a big issue that I have is separating my political views and not allowing that to hinder my relationships, because that can fuck up my relationship real fast, right? Like because I'm pretty passionate about politics and I'm willing to fight for the guy, and I really believe in capitalism, and I believe in democracy, and I believe in an open society in that regard, and I believe in less government and all these things. And maybe my partner doesn't see everything eye to eye as I do, and I have a difficult time accepting and just letting that be, right? And sometimes my opinion comes across as, I perceive my opinion can sometimes come across as arrogant. And when it comes across as arrogant...
Sometimes.
Yeah, so I think... So when I do those things, I don't recognize that I'm doing it in the moment. Like, I don't see it. And this, of course, ends up
Would you like him to be like, Justin, I'm working on my own arrogance, and I would like you to hold me accountable?
No. I'm pretty, like, because I do my moral inventory, right?
Yeah.
At night, so I'm pretty quick to recognize when I've done it.
Yeah.
I've gained more out of me recognizing it and then having to go back and make amends than somebody pointing it out. Because when I think this happens, especially people who come from our lifestyle, when things are pointed out in that way, you have to be very tactful, because I think just like ordinarily we can become aggressive. You know what I mean? Just being an alpha male. You know what I mean? And so you have to be very, very tactful in the way that you do it.
Fuck, I got put in my place by my mom the other day. I called her at the middle of the night, and I was having a domestic, and I called for her advice, and she's like, watch your anger, and then once you can control your anger, everything else in your life will fall into place. And I said, fuck, you're right, Mom. She's like, you taught me that, you idiot. Good night.
Yeah. It's sometimes difficult to chew your own words.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, we can give advice real good, but then when someone holds us accountable, it's pretty fucking priceless. It's like a slap in the face with a cold dick.
Yeah, it is. It is. I've had a couple sponsees that were like, hey, Justin, the truth is, you don't let me say fuck all. And so that's where I walked back expectations.
Yeah.
Right. I learned through sponsoring. You can tell people to do things all day fucking long. They don't give a fuck, son. Like, they don't give a fuck.
Well, fucking, you're a hard person to fucking not say please, but to try to keep up with you, because you do work a ridiculous amount. You're on the go all the time, and when I call you for advice, you give me a rundown of fucking 20 different scenarios. Well, first do this and then do that and then do this. And I highly suggest you do something like this and then you can try something like this. But maybe you might want to do it like this because that would still be beneficial. And I'm like writing notes and I'm like, holy fuck, when am I going to live my life? This guy just gave me 100 tasks.
Yeah.
But then even if I get done 50 of them, I'm fucking ahead of the game.
Yeah. Well, and then I started realizing this. So my sponsor told me this. He's like, you know what, man, they don't want to listen to you. Then why the fuck did they ask? Let them walk away. And you'll hear Dan Pena reiterate that. He's like, if you don't want to do what I've said, why the fuck are you asking me the second time? You didn't listen to me the first time. Well, don't ask me. If you're not going to do what I dictated, then don't fucking come back. You know? And I'm not that harsh. But there are people, I know guys in the business world who mentor people all the time, and that's their golden fucking line. Like golden line. You don't fucking do this to the T of what I said, you're done. You're fucking done. Don't walk back in here again. Don't fucking walk back in here again until you've done it. This guy, this one guy that I know, we call him the Joe Pesci. Is he like fucking Joe Pesci? He almost has a line very similar to like, you think this is fucking funny? Oh, you think I'm funny? You think I'm some fucking, what am I, a fucking clown over here? He basically does this to like brand new business people out of school. And you watch him do this shit to people, man, you're like, holy fuck. Like he's taking them to task. Like he'll make, like I've seen him, people will just break down and it's like day one. It's day one, and they're a practicum student out of university. Breaks them down, and that person's never making it to the executive board table, and it's never going to happen. And that's his. I mean, I'm not as bad as that guy, but I mean, I understand why he's doing it. Do I endorse it? Not really. You know, that's a tough fucking thing to do to people, man. Like I remember I took managerial school at a company I'm not allowed to talk about anymore on the air. Anyways, one of the things that was told to me was this: some mornings when you come into the office, you should say hi to some people and not to others. And then the next day alternate. This way they never know if you're friendly with them or not. I'm like, what the fuck? That is such
a mind fuck.
Yeah, man. Like, why it keeps them all on their edge? That's what this person's telling me. It's like keeps them all on their edge, and they'll always perform for you. Always, because they never know if they're in the good book or the bad book, you know, and that's not something I really want to play with. I used to be like that. I'm not like that anymore. I used to play mind fuckers. Oh, it's fuckery all of the time. Fuckery all of the time, and it's just to live your life like that. It's not fun. Playing those kinds of mental mind games, it's not fun. It's fun to play chess, but that's why you play chess. You know what I mean? You don't play chess with real people.
Yeah, I challenge you to a chess
game. It's not that.
I challenge you.
If I can find the fucking time, we'll sit down and do it. It's just not fun playing chess with people and their lives and their emotions, you know? But there is a corporate culture that's like that out there, you know? And it's not fun working for those fuck sticks. Like, it's really not. I try to really stay away from that kind of stuff. But so those are the things that I want. I'm looking for how to detach my opinions, detach my opinions from an actual passion. You know what I mean? And not allowing my respect to be attached to somebody else's opinions. Like when somebody tells me what they're saying, I'm like, fuck, my like, I don't know if I can respect you as much. Like that's what I don't say that out loud, but in the back of my head, I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, why would you believe that? Like that's what's happening in the back of my head, right?
Yeah.
And who am I to judge somebody's belief systems? You know what I mean? But it is a weakness of mine, and this is what hinders me a lot in some of my personal relationships with friends and so on and so forth. So that's what I'm going to seek out over the next month. But our hour's up.
Woo!
Yeah. You got anything else to add?
Yeah. Please subscribe and share it to all your friends. You can find the After the Show blog at www.lifeonlifestermspodcast.com. I'll stop talking like Bob Barker's announcer right now.
I was going to say this. Did you know that Bob Barker owns all the orange in the prisons?
Yeah. I seen the Bob Barker shoes. I
Yeah,
wore
yeah.
them.
Yeah, me too.
I repped Bob Barker.
But even
Crocs.
the jump suit is owned by him.
Attaboy, Bob.
Yeah, you know why? His son got murdered for his tennis shoes in Vegas. I'm not shitting you. So he bought them all and was like, "Fuck it, they should all wear orange." I'm not kidding you.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, you're awesome.
So you can become a Pride member at your soonest convenience. Drop us your email on our website, and we will not sell it. We will not give it away. We will only use it to send you information about this podcast.
That's it. Or the blog. Yeah.
If you'd like to become a financial contributor, we do have a Patreon page. It is patreon.com/life on life's terms with capital L's on life and life's. A contribution as little as $5 a month. We will send you all the good vibrations we can, man.
Isn't that fucked? And you know what? Patreon made our thing like that. Life on life's terms with the capital L's.
They did that, eh?
Yeah, they did that.
Thanks, Patreon.
Yeah,
That's
love you.
Not fucking annoying.
Yeah, I love you. I love you so much, Patreon. You're amazing. Anyways, you guys have a wonderful Thursday.
Here, wait.
What?
What's that?
Oh, shit.
If you want to see all of our episodes, okay, and this is important, and I want to put this on the website if we can.
Yeah, we're going to try. I know what you're going to. So it's http://lifeonlifesterms.libsyn.com/website.
Your double dot is a colon.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
Okay.
And also another shout out, I will be co-facilitating a retreat at Start of the North, which you went to, and this is going to be right after the Valentine's Day weekend. And it's with, I'll be co-facilitating with Archbishop Emeritus Sylvain Lavoie.
Is it about relationships?
It's about your relationship. So this is going to be really, really good for parents who are dealing with kids in addiction.
Oh, okay.
So that's basically, we talk about the big book and the steps and the work that is necessary in order for an addict to become recovered. So
how do we sign up for that? How did we get these parents to sign up for that?
So you can go to Star of the North's website, and it'll be right there. You can't miss it. It'll have my name on it, Justin Robert. And you can stay for the weekend. I forget what the price is for the weekend, or you can travel in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you guys are if you guys are Pride members, man, I totally want to see you at this thing. If you guys can get there, I will bake you my own lion cookies.
Lion tiger. I can't believe you just said tiger.
I know. They're so beta next to a lion. But I'll bring some cookies in.
Yo, what are you wearing on your finger?
Oh yeah, we got rings.
We got
today.
pride rings.
Yeah, we got pride rings. So we're gonna throw those on the Facebook page, and we're gonna see how many people like it and see how many people want to get these rings. And then what we'll do is we'll go out and get a bunch of these rings and figure out how to get them out to you guys and do all that stuff.
Sick.
Yeah. So yeah. Again, go to Star of the North and check out that retreat. It's going to be a fantastic time. It starts Friday, finishes on a Sunday afternoon.
LAVIN, man.
Yeah, have a beautiful Thursday. Peace.